So we are the two development guys from Oracle. So let me tell you a little bit about myself, and then we'll introduce Matt as well. So my name is Rondy Ng. I'm responsible for all the front office and back office applications development at Oracle. I've been with Oracle since 1990, responsible for building a lot of the core finance products. Hopefully many of you are customers of our e-business suite. And of course, over the years, we've acquired a number of different companies. And the past few years have been very focused on bringing the cloud ERP solution to the market. Matt?
So I'm Matt Bradley. I actually run all of development for the EPM set of products. So that's the legacy Hyperion. Came to Oracle as part of the acquisition, and I've enjoyed it ever since. And looking forward to the conversation today and the rest of the conference.
Excellent. So Matt, you and I actually speak to a lot of CFOs. As part of our job, we enjoy that part of our career. We're learning a lot from kind of our customers. Now, over the years, what you've seen in terms of kind of how the CFOs are changing their role, looking for kind of different aspects of the job, can you tell us a little bit about kind of how the transformation of the CFO office and the finance office, and how that actually leads to kind of our cloud transformation here?
Sure. So I mean, a common theme that we hear a lot from CFOs or from finance in general is how to increase the agility inside of organizations. How can you react quicker to change that's occurring in the industries that you're operating in, and also get yourself established and set up for growth. A lot of the work that we see is as echoed by the earlier speakers, is how to increase productivity. And a lot of that is through standardization of process, a simplification of those processes, so that you can then take advantage as opportunities come forward in the industry from that standpoint. And it's also important that we're hearing from finance that they basically get their house together and have it, as an example for the rest of the organization, that it runs effectively, it runs efficiently, it's running at, say, a lower cost than before, so that they can then take the next step and become that co-pilot or become that business partner to really help the rest of the organization move forward as well. We see a lot of organizations want to have a complete alignment from strategy and how that flows from the financial metrics that are in place out towards the rest of the organization to make sure that that organization can deliver against that particular strategy. And so that's sort of the key themes that we're sort of dealing with, is how do we adjust to the finance transformation that's occurring from the digital disruptions that are occurring in the marketplace, and really take that forward and drive that out through.
Yeah.
So that's what we're hearing. Now, our job from Oracle is to help them through that process. Mm-hmm. And so back to you in terms of why now and why cloud?
Like, the reality is, I think there's still a lot of people actually thinking about, hey, kind of like, is it ready? Is it for me? And you've heard Doug talking about the sense of urgency sometimes kind of like we're seeing not quite there. And a lot of that is maybe kind of education. A lot of that maybe kind of just concerns, kind of what that means to them. Change management clearly is a big thing. Now, I can actually share with you a lot of kind of some of the experiences that we've gone through with kind of a couple thousand customers who've gone live with our cloud ERP. Now, many of them are looking at that very differently from kind of they have ever actually done before on the ERP implementations. Now, traditionally, people implement ERP years and years ago with bringing a big SI, doing the process evaluation, and then going through 18, 24, sometimes 36 months of implementation, and you're trying to predict, 2 years down the road, is that really actually the business behavior and environments that I would want to achieve? Now, things are changing very fast. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of our customers, unless you are very small in nature, that you had nothing or kind of have very, very small and you want to grow big, usually you're not going all in at the same time. For the bigger organizations in particular, those people kind of with 500 million and above, kind of from upper mid-market and on up, most of the times kind of when we actually talk to customers, we're saying to them, let's look at kind of like how you would actually benefit on the cloud implementation on the things that you need immediately. So don't think about, hey, kind of like I have kind of like a capital budget that I want to implement a new system, but don't think on-premise. Kind of on-premise essentially kind of is very hard to justify. I don't have to explain the benefits of going to cloud between the IT operations and some of the efficiency gain over there. But the reality is, when you actually look at that big transformation, sometimes it's hard for you to actually figure out kind of exactly how I'm going to take the entire system that I've built for years and then move on to this new environment. So I always recommend people to look for tactical opportunities to start small. Usually, when I actually have to get into a new line of business, a new country, or I have to go for an M&A, a lot of times I have to do evaluation. Should I actually bring all that business into my organization, in my the global single instance, and try to kind of basically run the operations there? It may not necessarily be a bad idea, but sometimes it's very costly. It takes a lot of time. So many times kind of we recommend to people there, hey, kind of let's start with that. Let's start with a smaller piece. Let's kind of basically have the mentality that at some point in time, I'm going to convert my entire organization over to the cloud technology and get the benefits that you have heard over the past couple of days on cloud. But start with kind of like a smaller pilot. Typically, the tactical opportunities, whether it's an M&A or it's kind of basically an organization that I need a system up and running very quickly. And don't think about that as a 2-year project. Think of that as a 4 to 6 month kind of project. With the mentality that a lot of times that we've heard from people, try to use a mentality of adopting the standard best practices. A lot of kind of the capabilities that we have in the cloud are built around years of learning of building these on-premise applications. It's simplified, it's standardized, it's automated. So take advantage of all of that, build a practice, build a familiarity with the environment, get familiar with kind of how to operate on the cloud, get the success, convince kind of the business that kind of this is the way to go. And when you have kind of that initial success, it's much easier for you to think about taking that success and start replicating to the rest of the organization, and then you go from there. So many times, this is kind of the model that people actually have adopted, and we've seen a lot of success, going with a much more agile phased manner. So now, this particular session, I know that a lot of people have talked about emerging technologies, AI, blockchain, machine learning, and so on. So Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the cool stuff that you're doing in your space?
Sure, delighted to. I think cloud is really helping us a whole lot in terms of it gives us a more intimate relationship with our customers because we're providing service and not so much providing a piece of software and then seeing you later kind of piece. And with that sort of interaction, we get a lot of insights in terms of what they're doing and how they're leveraging and how they're using it. We also get, with cloud, obviously access to a lot more data. And when you've got data, then we can start to bring in things like machine learning, artificial intelligence into the equation. And so in my space, if I take, say, our planning and budgeting, forecasting style applications, it would be great if we could bring information of, say, customer sentiment and actually have that be interacting with your plans and forecast. If you're introducing a new product, it would be good to know what that early feedback of that product is. You can then expand upon what you would expect the uptake of that product to be. And so it's an area that we're working quite heavily on is to how do we bring information from data as a service, marry that with the information that we have inside our planning and budgeting applications, and then leverage AI and machine learning to really drive insights against that particular information. The other area that we're spending quite a lot of energy in, and what we've sort of seen is as companies have improved the mechanics through ERP, through the various systems in place, the majority of time in a close activity now is actually in the analytics. It's really trying to understand what the numbers fundamentally mean. And we believe that we can leverage, again, some AI and machine learning against that information to reduce that cycle time down, to get you a quick insight to the information rather than the traditional model of running lots of reports and trying to find the root cause. Can we have the computer run across the data that's in place, look at where those insights are, and then drive attention to focus on this particular area? So those are some of the kind of sort of high-level key things that we're really trying to drive out from the cloud and from the new technologies that are now available to us as being part of the cloud. And I'm sure in the ERP, you're doing something very, very similar.
Yeah, like on the core back office ERP operations, kind of one of the things that we always actually aspire to be is to be able to provide a completely autonomous ERP environment, similar to kind of what you've heard Larry Ellison in the open world talking about autonomous database. You shouldn't actually have a lot of human beings manually processing a lot of kind of the transactions, reporting, close process, and so on. So we definitely have a lot of technologies that we're leveraging machine learning to automate transaction processing. So this is no longer just about recognizing an invoice with an OCR technology and processing at the back end. This is about kind of using the capabilities to learn to recognize the different kind of transaction types, whether it's kind of like a batch feed from kind of any of your sources, or kind of like it's a one-off thing that I want to email this document to Oracle and let it process that. And at the end of the day, you just take all that information and pump it through the various different steps, so you don't have to actually use human being to reconcile the differences. It will learn the exception processing. At the end of the day, hopefully it will just ask you, hey, can you accept what kind of the system has processed? And ultimately, our objective there is to let the finance organization focus on what they should be focusing on, which is really understanding the information, use that to drive all the different decisions to help, like what you said and what Doug said, the co-pilot of the organization. So that's the vision that we have, and we believe that cloud is the only way that we can introduce a lot of these technologies. Like what you've heard from Steve Miranda yesterday, we're not talking about building a bunch of these applications, and you have to adopt that. A lot of these things are going to trickle in through the core capabilities and processes, and incrementally over time, you're going to get more and more of these capabilities already actually embedded in the environment, so you'll be able to take advantage of that seamlessly as you go. So now at this point, we would like to actually invite a few of our marquee customers who are going through the process, who have gone through the process. Now, but before we do that, let's roll a video.
Let's do this, we said. The impossible, the unthinkable. They said cancer is a sentence. We said it's just a word. They said our idea would never hold water. We burst their dam. They said we couldn't start a revolution. We said it's brewing. They said we couldn't change people's views. We showed them the bigger picture. Some don't understand the power of optimism, the power of we, you and us working together. We can, we will. We, the optimists.
Okay, it's my great honor to introduce Allison Baird-James, Associate Vice Chancellor, Corporate Financial Services, and Campus Controller of UCLA.
Glad to do it.
Allison, welcome.
Thank you.
So, Allison, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and UCLA? I'm sure that everyone here knows UCLA, but tell us about the size, scale, and complexity of the.
Yes, okay, so UCLA is the largest university in California. We have 31,000 undergraduates and 14,000 graduate students. We run about 5,700 projects, research projects concurrently, and are in about 57 countries throughout the world doing all of that work. So we have about 14,000 students that live on the campus. We have a cogeneration plant. We have a police force. So we're like a small city that actually is running in the middle of Los Angeles.
Excellent. So now, tell us a little bit of some of the challenges that you're going through. I know that recently you have gone through a very elaborate software selection process, and you have decided on the Oracle Cloud ERP. So can you actually share with us a little bit of the key aspects of your decision? What are you looking for?
Yeah, so we are really looking at a way to transform business at UCLA. Our researchers are excellent and known throughout the world, but our administration really hasn't kept up. So we're looking to create state-of-the-art business processes, ways to really do things much more efficiently, move the money into the mission instead of spending so much money on administration. So that's really what our goals are.
Excellent. So now you're just starting the implementation journey, okay? So can you share with us a little bit about the approach that you're going to take? I know that higher education is very unique, and there are lots and lots of different parts and lots of different systems that you have to integrate. So now when you actually look at all the implementation from before and now, so what is your perspective of planning this implementation?
So planning the implementation, we've spent a lot of time thinking about this. And UCLA, it's different from a lot of industries, universities. We've been there for 100 years. We expect to be here for 100 years. We're not necessarily looking at doing things fast. We're looking at doing things right. And so, so we don't have that kind of urgency that comes with a quarterlies and all of the other things that the for-profit industries look at. So one of the things that's really important to us is the data that we have today is not really designed in a way to get the data out of the system and make good corporate decisions and good decisions down at every single level of the university. So in order to do that, we're going to go through an extensive chart of accounts modification. And as we redo our chart, we have many systems that feed into the general ledger, and so we're going to need to change all of those feeds and all of the way that you sort of talk to the general ledger. And so for that, it's really going to take us looking at doing a big bang kind of approach. So we'll spend more time planning, so we'll spend about a 2.5-year period going live, more planning, more change management, but then it'll be big bang when we go, because the chart will change, and therefore the whole financial language of UCLA will change.
I understand that. Now, how do you foresee kind of operating in the cloud is going to be different compared with what you used to? So I know that there's a lot of change management involved in there. So have you started planning the cultural change within UCLA?
Yeah, because really the change management is going to be the key for us. We're not worried about the software. We're very confident that Oracle's going to meet the needs that we have, but the concern is really the change management and changing how we do things. So UCLA is on a mainframe. We've been on a mainframe for a very long time, and we have not made many changes to that. What we've done is we wrapped it with a web interface, so it sort of looked modern, but it's not modern. There's green screens back there. And so really the thought is that we have a lot of business change to do. Part of the thing that attracts us to the cloud is the fact that its best practices are built in, and so the goal is for us to use as much of that as possible and not customize things. So change management's going to be the name of the game.
That's very good. Now, how do you expect that you're going to benefit from some of the new technology from the cloud? Now, clearly, the cloud comes with a lot of new capabilities, a lot of the embedded intelligence, a lot of AI that we've talked a lot about in the past couple of days. Now, how do you see UCLA as part of this implementation and also on an ongoing basis taking advantage of all these new capabilities?
Well, we're really excited about the capabilities. I think one of the biggest things is becoming more efficient, reducing the administrative burden on the campus, and being able to, again, apply those funds into our research and into better uses for our money. But another aspect of universities, which is sort of interesting, is, in most companies, you've got a firewall, and if someone from within the firewall hacks you, there's problems for that person. UCLA, on the other hand, we've got this firewall, and we go out and we recruit the best and the brightest students, and then we put them on our campus and we stick them inside the firewall, and they hack us all the time. So from a finance perspective, as soon as I can get this data out of UCLA and on the cloud, the better off I am. So huge aspects of security that's going to be beneficial for us. We're very excited about that. Looking at things real time, being able to use mobile devices. I've got researchers, when the researchers go out in the world, they don't normally go to the big cities. They're out in some bush town in Malawi curing AIDS or doing that kind of thing. So to be able to do things on a mobile device will be tremendously helpful for those faculty members.
Excellent. So now, like what we've been saying, is the rapid pace of innovation coming with the cloud as well. Now, given where you've been coming from, which is green screens, mainframe for many years, now to having to deal with release updates 4 times a year. Hopefully a lot of the capabilities are directly applicable to you. Now, how do you foresee that UCLA will adopt this pace of innovation as you go?
Well, one of the aspects of the change management that we plan to do is to try to create a more agile campus that's ready for these changes. But in order to do that, of course, we have to make sure that we use the cloud as it's delivered and use those kinds of capabilities. So one of the aspects of making sure we're going to be agile is to make sure that we do adopt what we're doing and we don't create a bunch of workarounds and different ways to do things. So that's one of the plans, and the other really is to start building the technology capabilities of our staff so that they're able to manage things on a more regular basis and be more agile.
That's excellent. I'm looking forward to working with you much more closely in the next set of quarters to come, hopefully not years. We'll be actually bringing a lot of the benefits to you guys in a very rapid fashion, but we're definitely looking forward to partnering with UCLA to take it to the next level.
Very much looking forward to it.
Thank you, Allison. Now, at this point, we would like to bring up another customer. But before we do that, let's roll another video.
Purpose. Our purpose is what motivates us all and allows us to have a positive impact all around the world. So when a customer looks at us, they don't think about us as a lodging company. They don't think about us as a hotel made of concrete and steel. Instead, what we want them to think about is about the light and warmth of our people and the truly exceptional experiences that they have with us.
Shine a light, we'll see. We're all beautiful. Yeah, we'll shine so bright, they'll see. This world can be beautiful.
Great. So it's my pleasure to actually invite on stage Anand Nampally. He's the Senior Vice President of Global Operations Finance for Hilton. Senior?
Welcome. Nice job.
It's great to have you on stage with us.
Thank you.
Why don't you just introduce yourself to the audience and give us a couple of factoids on Hilton that we may not be familiar with.
Sure. I'm the Senior VP of Global Operations Finance. What that means is I oversee almost 700 plus owned and managed properties globally. And we've got a group of corporate folks that work along with our property folks in helping performance and driving results at the properties. Hilton, you've seen the video. Chris Nassetta, our CEO. We're a leading hospitality company with almost 5,200 plus properties worldwide. And we are in almost 103 plus countries and territories. We have a wide range of brands, 14 world-class brands, starting from the Waldorf Astoria and the luxury side and Conrad, full-service properties of Hilton and DoubleTree, along with limited service properties like Hampton and Hilton Garden Inn.
Excellent. Now, you've been a customer of ours for many, many years, both in an on-premise capacity and not so recent, fairly recently inside of cloud. Why don't you just give us sort of the background in terms of where you were and what led you to move to cloud and what kind of problems you're trying to solve in the organization with that journey?
Yeah, sure. We had a legacy-based sort of budgeting and forecasting system that was developed almost 15 to 20 years ago. Most of you can sort of you know what that feels. And it was primarily for what we call a limited service properties. These are the Hampton Inns or the Garden Inns. Way back in 2008 or 9, we decided that we wanted to sort of expand that globally as we merged with Hilton International. And at that time, they took this legacy-based system and sort of expanded across the globe. And that was a real challenge. It was really a custom application-based system and was really, had difficulty in terms of retrievals and all kinds of other issues along with that. So one of the big pieces that we dawned on us as we kind of looked at the legacy system was, and from a corporate side, we had moved into a new chart of accounts way back in 2013 or 14. And as we started looking into that, and we hadn't done anything at the property level, we really felt that as we moved into the new chart of accounts at the property, we needed a new system. And forecast accuracy was the other big issue that we were having along in that legacy system. So as we started evaluating our options, we really needed to find a product that really was agile and were more state-of-the-art at the time that we were looking at the systems.
Excellent. And you currently you've been in production, I believe, since 2016.
That's correct.
Correct? And just to explain to the audience how large, how big, how complex is that deployment?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, we rolled out the PBCS cloud to 700 plus hotels So you can imagine the scale and the complexity that one has to deal with. Just like you have hotels in New York, we have hotels in Cameroon, in Yaoundé, or in Burma. So just the size and the scale was a big task for us. I think the other piece was, as we sort of decided to look at the complexity of what we had, we really need to get away from the legacy system into a new chart of accounts, and we really needed to look at all of those pieces associated with that. What we were really looking for was a more metric-driven, driver-based forecasting system. We also wanted to look at cleaning up all of the accounts that we had within the legacy system. So we took out almost 800 unneeded accounts. We also had a centralized administration process. So folks that were in Singapore really were relying on our data center in the US. So when we had to do maintenance at 10 p.m. at night, it was 10 a.m. in Singapore, and folks really couldn't access the system. So one of the key things that we really wanted to make sure was that we had regional-based systems that allowed our regional folks to access the system at their local time. That was a really important criteria for us. PBCS allowed us to do it. We have 3 data centers through Oracle, 1 in Chicago for the US, for the Americas team, Amsterdam for the European team, and Australia for the APAC team. That was a huge help. The other piece that we were also looking at a rolling forecast over 24 months. We're a highly performance-driven company. We have daily, weekly views of revenue. And so we really wanted to make sure that we had not just the metrics, but also the time frame in terms of driving the forecast. The other piece that was also important for us was the fact that we also wanted to integrate some of our labor management tools within PBCS. That was a big task for us, but at the end of the day, we were basically able to take our labor management tool that was looking out 365 days and connect it through Oracle PBCS. So
impressive. Now, global rollout.
Yep.
Change in chart of account, change in process, a lot of change. How do you handle the change management aspect of this?
Yeah, this was a big concern for us as we started our journey. Just to give you in terms of the time frame, I think you'll have a little bit of appreciation. We started talking about wanting to we'll go with Oracle in probably around Jan or Feb of 2015. By the time we took it across to our EC and got it approved through the executive committee, and to actually rolling out our first phase, which was in September or August of 2016, it was an 18-month journey. So, to your point, we wanted it to be quick, but we wanted it to be done right because it was a huge task for us. We had done the corporate transitions before. We kind of knew going to the properties with a new chart of accounts was going to be challenging, only because of the fact that we had split the new chart of accounts rollout between corporate and the properties. And so we really wanted to make sure that we understood what the change impact was when we went across to 700 properties. So we did really 3 things. One was we got the executive buy-in. That was critical. The second piece that we did from a change management perspective, and I was really very focused on it, was getting a group of not just our corporate folks that did ops finance, but also the folks at the property level. We really needed to get their buy-in. I think your prior presenter mentioned about getting buy-in from the field. And we really went to all of our major properties and got what we call SMEs to come in and participate along with the corporate folks and really understand how we needed to execute this at the property level. We deal a lot with different cultural nuances. We deal with expertise and skill levels. And we really felt that having that buy-in was important. The other piece that I really want to highlight as well was we had an incredibly great partnership between Oracle, SNH, our system integrator, and our internal IT folks and business folks. We worked really hard on making sure that the training aspect of this as we roll it out was critical. So we started the journey of explaining what PBCS was and what the cloud-based system was, probably 6 months or 8 months before we actually launched it. We used a variety of different forums. I went on a roadshow at various finance conferences, internal finance conferences for Hilton, where we presented why the benefits and why we're doing it. Anytime you have a legacy system that's 15 or 20 years old, you're going to have a really hard time with certain folks with respect to change. I have a very interesting example. We had a DOF from, a director of finance from a property in Egypt, and it was our first introduction of what cloud-based system was going to be. And he looked at me and he said, I have an Excel spreadsheet that I do all my work in. Why would you want me to take that Excel spreadsheet and roll it up into the cloud? It's going to be a waste of time. And he was so negative through the whole process, through the 2 days we were trying to introduce it. Fast forwarded 6 months, and we launched our first budgeting and forecasting module. And I met him again in our London office, and he said, this is unbelievable. I couldn't imagine how easy it was to use. So that was a combination of us training them, giving them access to the information, and really taking their input in. And I think that's a big piece of a successful implementation.
Fantastic, great. So you've been live now for several months. What's next? What else is part of the journey that Hilton will go on with respect to cloud?
As we grow, we're at 700 plus. We are growing at a very rapid rate. We go to new locations. I think being in the cloud environment allows us to bring in these new properties fairly easily. I think for us, I was really thrilled to see all of the new development you guys are spending on in terms of ERPs and within PBCS. So we're looking forward to all of the new insights and the new development that you can roll out at one shot across 700 plus properties, rather than us trying to figure out how it's happening at each individual property. So all of your new development that you guys are spending your time on is something that we're looking forward to and hoping to continue our journey.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great. I think we'll have one more video, and we'll have one more customer come on stage and join us.
Athletes train in specific ways to reach their full potential. Some animals thrive in warmer waters, others near ice. Different crops flourish in different climates. Just like artists need the right materials to realize their vision, data needs the right conditions to reach its full potential. Big data, fast data, personal data, a growing diversity of data that creates exciting new possibilities that we can only achieve if we move beyond today's boundaries, gain a deeper understanding of different contexts, develop more precise answers tailored for more specific outcomes, and drive the innovation necessary to stay ahead of new demands. That's our calling. Everywhere data lives, we're there to make the promise of data a reality. New discoveries, new opportunities, new experiences. Everywhere data lives, everywhere it's needed, everywhere people and systems depend on it. We create environments for data to thrive.
So it's my great pleasure to introduce Donald Robertson, Vice President, Accounting, Western Digital.
How are you?
Donald, welcome.
Thanks, man.
Now we're first from UCLA, just starting the implementation. We're first from Arnon, who have gone mostly through and looking for kind of expansion at Hilton. So Donald, tell us a little bit about yourself and also kind of the size and complexity and some of the acquisitions that you have done at Western Digital.
Sure. So I'm Vice President of Accounting at Western Digital, responsible for accounting, global reporting, and key initiatives, including transformation. So that includes ERP. And so it's been a little bit crazy. Back in 2016 and in 15, essentially 3 Fortune 500 companies came together within a 6-month period: Western Digital, HGST, and SanDisk. And so each one of them had a fiercely proud culture, fiercely proud loyalty to their ERP and to their systems. But we wanted to become one company, and so there's a lot of integration and challenges that we had. And at the heart of a lot of processes and systems, or processes is systems, and that's one of the challenges we've had to date to make sure we're really one unified company.
Okay, so why don't you share with the audience here some of the complexity of your current environment? I know that there are multiple different vendors, environments involved in there, and what is kind of your implementation approach when you actually embark on this cloud journey?
So we have 2 instances of SAP and 1 instance of Oracle. And as we look through, each one of them is configured differently. Each one's configured uniquely for that business, but they're very common processes. Two of the businesses are relatively the same. One had 4,000 cost centers. One had 700 cost centers. So they managed the business differently. So trying to align on how we were going to look at data, look at how we wanted to think about reporting especially was one of it. So we thought about where we want to go. We realized that none of the systems were all relatively aged, and none of them was probably the system of the future. So with the leadership really of our CIO, we embarked on a new process to implement a new system, and I think from there it was pretty clear that the cloud, to not try and guess where we're going to be in 5 years, 10 years, is to look at that as part of the process and the journey.
Okay. So now, where are you with the process right now?
So we've taken a phased approach, which is common. There's a lot of internal debate, big bang or phased. I would tell you that when you're trying to take 3 ERPs, all running $5 billion plus worth of revenue on a global basis, and move them into one system, big bang probably wasn't an option. So we decided to go with a phased approach. So we looked at both the maturity of the cloud as well as our own internal maturity, and finance became sort of the lead. And we wanted to structure the project more from a win-win perspective. And so we were worried about burnout maybe along an long ERP journey. And so we selected finance, and primarily similar to you, we did budgeting and consolidations. One of the things that we were having difficulty with is reporting actual spending and actual budget to actual throughout the organization on a combined basis. Within an ERP, we had it, but even those definitions were different. So we were able to utilize that to provide really to the C-suite their spending, their budget to actually drive real change and to make a difference. And that also saw the executives saw the value of it. And so it energizes them to see what's next. What are you going to provide me next? The next phase is indirect procurement, which procurement to payables as well as fixed assets. But in that, if we have the budget to actual today and measuring that, then how do you actually drive change? So by doing the spending next and actually having procurement all in one system, we're able to then align the actual spending and actually get real value, not just reporting where we are from a budget to actual.
Great.
Yeah.
And so in your chart of account redesign, was there any secret sauce that you leveraged in order to collapse that down and make it much more manageable?
So we started with something like 11,000 natural accounts and something like 5,000 chart of accounts. We're down to, give or take, 3,500 natural accounts and about a little over 1,000 cost centers. Is it ideal? No, but it's something that you really have to think about, and it's a journey. I'm sure some people come up to me after the hall or after this and tell me how I can get it down lower. But it's a journey, right? And there's a lot of wrestling. Different people thought about it differently, and a lot of limitations that were part of the legacy systems drove a lot of the complexity that as a smaller company you may be able to deal with, but as a larger company, 20 billion in revenue, 70,000 employees, vertically integrated manufacturing, there was no way we could live with all these ad hoc processes. We needed one global footprint. And to do that chart of accounts rationalization really helped in this process.
And it's obviously a phased approach in terms of the overall implementation. What benefits are you seeing already?
So I think I touched on it a little bit, but the budget to actual, I'll take finance as an example. I asked, what is my global spending? And am I on budget or am I off budget? Where are we? And it took 4 weeks just for our own financial analysts to give me that information across 3 systems. So now I can get that essentially with the push of a button. I mean, after every close, it's ready within about 6 hours. So, I mean, that I think, and that's more powerful because every week, I think, we do full P&L forecasting. So we go to the C-suite every week and share with them where we are on track for the quarter. And so including in that is this OpEx look. So there's about 40 key organizations throughout the company, and we're reporting that every week and showing where we are on track. And the system helps us do that.
That's very nice. So now, I remember I talked to your CIO, Steve Philpott, a few days ago.
Yeah.
And we talked about the change management topic, just like our discussion that we had right now. And he has some very interesting ideas and very creative ideas to help making sure that the organization is ready for these kind of pace of innovation. So from your business standpoint, can you share a little bit about kind of how you're receiving and what these things are and how you're benefiting from these kind of strategies?
Sure hope I don't contradict him here, but because I didn't hear what he said. But I would tell you, change management can't be undervalued in the process. And I have a story I always tell, and I'll tell it in a sec. But we start with the normal. We have communications. We have a plan. We have it as part of a track. It's not. It's embedded within each track, and it's its own separate track, so we don't forget it. But I would tell you that you have to go down in a global organization to the lowest common denominator and really think about the pain and the change management that they're going through and to communicate it. And the example I had is there was a module called BCS in SAP that we knew was going away. It was going to be replaced by the cloud. And if you walk down the hall and I quizzed anybody, hey, is BCS going away? They say, yes, Donald. It's going away, no problem. But then we actually went live on the system. 10 people flooded us and said, where are my reports? I need these to close the books. I need these for the analysis. It turns out their reports were from BCS, this system. And so the change management it wasn't about what systems, because we think about, if you're IT-centric, what systems are going away. But for the users globally, it's what reports do I get? What access screens am I going to get? What data am I typically getting? Am I going to get it in a different format that's going to cause me to have to rewrite all my spreadsheets or how I put together my templates? So that was really a big aha moment that we've embedded into the future phases as we go through this.
Excellent. So I've heard also kind of a lot of just building the star athletes within the organization to embrace the new process. Can you share with us a little bit on that?
So, I mean, you need people that are going to embrace change, right? We have 3 companies, as I mentioned, they're all fiercely proud. And so we have 3 of everything, and not everything is the same. And so one of the things that we looked at is the people that would embrace the change, but also could see sort of how do we combine it, not trying to say, I want what I currently have, I want the future. And so that helped with the selection process. With anything, we got to be careful not to burn out our best people. There are sprints involved in an implementation, but it really is a journey to get that. We definitely have some key data architects that we pulled through the accounting, the finance, within my organization especially, that really have done a great job in driving that.
Excellent. All right.
Yeah.
So Donald, Arnon, Allison, so on behalf of Oracle, I want to really thank you for your investment and also confidence in Oracle, and looking forward to working with all of you continuously to take all the benefits that we've been talking about into reality. And thank you again for coming today.
Thank you.
We appreciate
Thank
it.
Thank you.
Great.